My name is Cecilia. What are y'all's names?
I'm Nushin, and this is my friend Saranaz, and that's so cool. And that's Hannah, and this is Yassi.
What grade are y'all in?
Hi.
Can we just excuse me?
What grade are y'all in?
10th. 10th?
Can you repeat that?
Could you possibly record?
Yes, we are.
Could you possibly record this for us? Because
We're recording right now.
We're recording.
Thank you. Thank you. This is recording, John.
Would you like to begin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and start. So the purpose of this speech is to study and to explore the impact of internet and digital media on reading habits. Traditional reading habits of library users have now changed with the changing environment and working culture. People are now looking for an opportunity to read content in electronic mode. It reduces the burden over the person to keep staying inside the library, and now a person can even read the context while traveling or while moving around the world. Traditional libraries can even read content while libraries and digital libraries supply each other to meet the needs of various kinds of readers. Younger generation students sometimes prefer reading through the internet or following up book reviews, as such opportunities can be thought as effective means for fostering reading habits. Reading is influenced by many factors like environment, subject, background, age, etc. Libraries are under the influence of modern technologies, which has converted the functional activities in all walks of life. The library is the richest information treasure of human knowledge and cultural wealth. They should be able to meet effectively the challenges of new technology revolution. However, the development of advanced technology have provided good opportunities for the survival and development of traditional libraries of different types. The library, as a traditional information institution, is undergoing radical changes in its information service in the new era. With more and more digital materials available to the reader, the library is no longer simply collects printed materials only. As for library users, their reading habits and ideas of utilizing reading materials have also changed. The increased use of computers has led to some modifications in the methods of academic work, such as undertaking research, writing articles, and producing teaching materials. The use of email has become so popular that it is almost ubiquitous, and researchers are finding it important that all such materials and sources should also exist in digital format. Both before and after developing a digital library, the systems are modern with the time and user is fully satisfied. Habit is a psychological activity and is developed during a course of time as a part of personality of an individual. Many people in the library world believe that digital libraries can simply be planned onto traditional print-based libraries. The new formats are not seen as replacing the old ones, but rather as coexisting with them. Libraries will no longer be ranked according to the richness of their own collections. They will be evaluated in terms of the services they provide, based primarily on remote access to the resources of other information centers. Now, there is a growing evidence, both from research projects and from library manager techniques, that a different organizational and managerial culture is required for successful digital libraries. Indeed, there are considerable human, cultural, and organizational challenges in developing and maintaining digital libraries. The digital library clearly has a culture that is different from the traditional library service. One can only speculate on whether the cultural shift involved is a parasite of digital library development, or whether there is a cultural lag and changes result from the introduction of digital services. Reading from screens is fast as from paper if the image quality was sufficiently good. However, people like to read article after taking printouts. Although changes have taken place More deep-seated working habits do not seem to have been influenced. Hence, although our various projects have looked as quite different implementations, the results have completely surprised the librarians of developing libraries. Many research studies on the libraries of developing countries have focused on how people use digital resources or on their feelings about digital and print resources in the library. These usage studies draw many conclusions about the behavior and preferences of library users. Digital information environment has dramatically changed the way that faculty and students access the information offered by academic libraries. Now, several digital information usage studies in recent years have focused on standardized usage counts. A fundamental outcome of the introduction of digital technology within libraries is a fascinating possibility that systematic organization and storage of information in large-scale databases. As conventional methods of collecting and presenting information become more expensive and time-consuming, placing digital information on networks is regarded as a major advance over the physical maintenance of some library services. Digital surveys are neither given a prominent place in the literature nor in projects exploring the measurement of digital networks, because the point of the projects is to collect data on the use and value of digital resources. There are many ways to access the effectiveness of library services. The digital environment is very different from the pre-oriented culture. It has always been recognized that some shifts in culture for libraries and other stakeholders in information challenges that we face are not technical in nature. Instead, it is a need to imagine and to implement change that will translate traditional values into the network and electronic information future. Reading today is the most versatile of habits. Encompassing all of the above, it is just as successful when it involves fonts dancing across a computer scene as it is with the handset type on the brittle pages of a 300-year-old book. We still have writing in an age of word processing. We still have reading in an age of video. That will continue, but the nature of reading will change as it has changed all along. Fears that the internet and other technologies will cause the decline and fall of print media are probably not warranted. Although people aren't reading as many books as they used to, their thirst for information seems limitless. Publishers enhance the reading experience with electronic media and find the next generation of consumers of literature as they've never seen. 5 problems of new technology of reading. 1. Reading habits and their influence on digital libraries. The aim of developing digital libraries is to enable readers to make better use of library services. Only in this way can digital libraries now show their superiority, and this goal is active as the germinal stages of the services program, but many digital libraries do fail to achieve their objectives. In developing countries, the development of the digital library is confronted with a lot of obstacles. There are a number of main factors restricting the development of digital libraries in such countries. One is that many libraries lack funds to buy digital equipment and digital books. Another is reading habits of library users. Still, another is inadequate computer retrieval skills and knowledge, which is also closely related with reading habits. In short, in the libraries of developing countries, readers, computer skills, and reading habits have shown slow speed of development of digital libraries, and the advantages put before by the introduction of digital libraries have been unable to be realized. 2, the impact of internet on reading habit. The internet has changed the world in an incalculable number of ways. It has changed the way people communicate, the way business is done, and the way information is shared and received. The internet has also had a great effect on people's reading habits, as it has changed the way people expect to receive both information and entertainment. The internet is a great method for sharing and receiving large volume of information very quickly. Nearly everyone who uses the internet has learned to process information quickly and to expect information in a conscious, easy to digest format. As the internet becomes the main platform from which many people get their information, they have come to expect that even information that is not on the internet be presented in this manner. Reading habits have shifted as those who write for publications such as newspapers and magazines have changed some of their formatting to compete with this new conscious manner of writing. People no longer read along informational articles and essays, but may simply skim through to find the pertinent information or the information that is most interesting to them. The shift in reading habits has been caused by the internet. It does not only affect nonfiction and factual writing, as people become more accustomed to reading only short blurbs. Even in instant messages or one-line emails, their overall attention span for words is changing. This means that even their attention span for novels and longer literary pursuits is waning. Now, the internet is a wonderful resource for many things, and it has allowed people all over the world to become more connected to each other. However, with its rapid speed, mentality of instant gratification, and its unique format, the internet has a detrimental effect on the reading habits of an entire generation. The generation that grew up with the internet has an attention span that is conditioned to eschew any work of writing that requires a close analytical read or as long as investment of time. The effect of the internet on reading habits cannot be ignored as the internet itself becomes more accessible to people each day. Now, reading habits have been changed by the internet. People aren't buying as many newspapers or magazines anymore. Newspaper readership is disturbed. Magazines and newspapers are going out of business, all because people have turned to one source to get their thirst of knowledge quenched by the internet water store. 3. Traditional reading habit. By traditional reading habit is meant the reading of books published in the form of paper only. Typical of this reading habit are mostly elderly people, though some are younger people. They stick to their old habits, although the use of computers for reading has been popular for quite some years. In other words, their traditional reading habit has not changed in any way since the arrival of the digital age. Like these older readings, some young people have the same reading habit. During the last few years, they have not access to computers, and so they have studied through printed books or notes. Computers have now become popular, but such young readers are still accustomed to reading from paper instead of on screen, especially for the purpose of work, and thus printed publications are still essential to them for reading purposes. Digital libraries may have lots of resources, but such traditional readers find them uncomfortable to use. Many elderly people think that reading is an important means to obtain information, and it's a vital way to develop the national culture. Although the library has provided modernized digital resources for many years, the percentage using the digital library is far less than 50%, and there are still over 25% of readers who, because of their reading habits, always use physical resources. Similarly, the invention of paper and printing technology in ancient China improved ways of reading and reading ability tremendously, speeding up the process of mankind's literate culture. And the main kinds of traditional publications, such as newspapers, journals, and books, long have been used to paper reading. Choice of printed materials over digital materials is probably because they feel uncomfortable and slow in thinking facing the screen. When digital libraries first appeared, their users had already been using computers in their work and leisure for a long time, and they readily accepted digital publications. 4. Lack of computer retrieving skills and knowledge. Older readers are used to reading characters, and many of them are not familiar with computers and networks. Icons are essentially pictures of things used to make the operation of computers more visually oriented and easier to understand for the novice. But the color and glare of the screen make eyes of many tired easily. Few people, even in developed countries, like to read a lengthy book in front of the computer. Reading for a long time on a screen soon becomes tiring, and this is one reason why readers, both young as well old, give up reading digital resources on screen. Digital reading is closely related with reading habit, as its influence on digital libraries is so great that a discussion seems desirable. In developing libraries, digital library products are relatively scanty. They are not psychologically prepared to give up the traditional reading mode and shift to the new mode of reading digital materials. The number of business deals and e-commerce benefits that are available through the net simply cannot be availed by poorer countries. This makes the reading psychology of library readers in a kind of dynamic course of developing constantly. Readers who have accepted digital publications as a new form for reading are culturally more dynamic and find it easier to get acquainted with higher cultural dynamics and grasp the characteristics of the digital library and the techniques of digital library use. So compared with printed document, the digital audience's colony is still very young and has had a good education. Only a relatively small number of people are well educated and have read many books, but still do not have the digital reading habit. It should be taken into account that users of university libraries are considerably well acquainted with techniques of computer use. In public libraries, on the other hand, readers are generally less well educated and many are at the loss in front of a computer screen. Coupled with their lack of education, most of them have never received any computer knowledge and training. From familiarity with computers and networks and lack of ability are the main factors. Another factor is simply that many did not know what the library actually buys. But some older teachers even think that they are too old to learn to use digital information resources when they need such digital resources. They have their graduate students search for them. The influence of age is a major factor in reading habits. It is one variable that correlates with comfort with computers and use of digital resources. Younger generations have grown up with computers. Digital resources are more frequently used by younger readers than older ones. It is believed that digital resources decrease the quality and rigor of research literature searches. The older the respondent, the more likely they will report that unfriendly interfaces waste users' time, and older scholars report more trouble with interfaces. Older readers are less likely to think that digital resource usage increases scholarly productivity, but they are more willing to pay for copies from traditional books or journals. 5. Solving the problem of digital libraries in developing countries. Digital libraries are based on varying numbers of users and consequently do not provide a basis for analyzing any trends. The attributes of digital resources offered by a national digital library were studied qualitatively from the web pages of the service in relation to the use of the service. When librarians in developing countries discuss the digitization of the library, they discuss more about the question of technology. They seem to think that if the library makes a website into a digital document, then the library will become modernized and readers of the library will become network readers too. Readers may change overnight from reading printed documents to reading the digital documents offered to them. They are glad to enjoy the modern service that the library offered. In fact, this neglects an important problem that the networked library develops on the basis of traditional library when a lot of the service methods of the traditional library are also extended. If thousands of printed documents lose their value, then the library is unable to offer books to the reader to read or to use, and this will be a tremendous waste. Effective citizen action is possible only when citizens know how to gain access to information of all kinds and have the skills to become responsible, informed participants in democracies. In the digital design of modern library, no matter what the representation of the functions, utilization of the resources, and expansion of reader space, selection of the library's location, etc., must be taken into consideration. In the digital age, the emphasis should be on making technology work for all, on delivering core services through networks, or on integrating technologies and maintaining holistic computer environments and collaborating across administrative lines. They seem to be stressing the importance of delivering digital information to all those who require it by exploiting information and communications technology and by breaking down unhelpful departmental barriers. Library staffs are also important for library managers to consider the ways in which they can actively lead and facilitate the development of successful digital libraries, both in terms of organizational structures and management style rather than simply concentrating on the effects of digital services on service staff. Librarians in developing countries must remember that for a very long time, people in their countries have been used to obtaining knowledge and information in printed forms, such as newspapers and periodicals. Especially for people older than 50, there is a bring of knowledge and there is a kind of special preference for printed documents and a reliance on culture. Books do not merely bring knowledge and enjoyment to readers from their content and appearance. Also, the quality of the material brings different impressions to readers. Although digital documents have fully reflected the advantages of networked communications and resource sharing, their use requires equipment such as computers and telecommunications, which books do not. And so do a program pattern has long been factored in reading behavior. Now, libraries in developing countries must also pay close attention to their environmental changes. Now, in order to meet the new changes of the information environment, the library community must make the greater efforts to do more work to fulfill the mission and aim of the digital library again, and redesign the workflow of the library institutional framework and carry on research into the service mode of readers with traditional reading habits in digital environments of the day. The coexisting relation and integration tendency of printed and network periodicals should also be discussed. What the libraries of developing countries must also do is correct mistaken ideas about digital libraries and explore actively and to have the courage to bring forth new ideas. Libraries should seize the opportunity to look for the best growing points suitable for themselves, gain support from digital technology, expand their own service range and projects, improve service efficiency and quality, and lay the foundation for the realization of digital library rather than wait for coming of digitalization. Digital libraries must provide a better learning and reading environment for readers with traditional reading habits. There is much work to do when libraries realize that many differences exist between information resources on the internet and those in traditional libraries in order to satisfy users' needs and to achieve the functions of education. In the era of information networks, libraries have to explore the influences of digital resources on readers and survey the content and methods of user education in internet resources. Now, libraries in developing countries must study how to establish such a system using library automation systems, how to improve the quality of purchasing, how to improve the system of borrowing, and how to improve and read issues such as environment. Digital librarians should develop new service values in addition to the timeless library service values of equity of access, personal service, and meeting all users' needs. In the digital age, the emphasis should be on making technology work for all, on delivering core services through the networks, on integrating technologies and maintaining holistic computer environments, on collaborating across administrative lines. Emphasis should also be placed on proposing a framework for a personalized and group information environment based on library automation systems, studying how to track users' interests dynamically and apply the research results to a personalized digital service, and building user-oriented construction and of organizational communication in libraries by taking system approaches and implementing a prototype system, making for a personalized reading environment. Now, libraries are also developing new roles in the digital age as advisors and navigators through the maze of information that is available digitally. A full understanding of human, cultural, and organizational factors will be helpful to library managers in grasping a middle and developing effective, high-quality digital information. Now, the conclusions is undoubtedly digitalization can widen the service function of libraries, improve their service level, and increase their social reputation. This is not the direction of development in the modernization of libraries. The present author does not object to digitalization, but is opposed to the blind imitation of digitization. Digital construction should develop. The present author does not object to digitization, but is opposed to the blind imitation of digitization. Digital construction should develop according to the actual situation of and the basis of the traditional library. It is not possible to purchase all books or go through the books in short period of hence. If a student gets the opportunity of finding the desired books, they may read more. They sometimes prefer reading through the internet or following up book reviews. Such opportunities can be thought as effective means for fostering reading habits. Documents that the library has collected have mainly been various kinds of printed materials. Printed documents are an advantage of the library for traditional users because digital documents cannot totally replace them. It is also necessary to digitize all the collected documents of a traditional library. Moreover, in developing countries, the traditional service of the library should be strengthened. After entering the mixed digital and traditional phase, the basic function of the library is to keep human cultural heritage, launch social education, transmit scientific and technological information, and develop intelligence resources. One advantage of digitization lies in its search function. It is convenient, easy to carry out and to read, and books and magazines are still the reader's first selection. Thinking that digital documents are superior to traditional printed documents assumes that readers go to libraries only in order to search documents or that they are happy to read digital documents. It is wrong to assume that digital documents are superior to traditional printed documents and that readers go to the library only to search documents or only read digital documents. Now, the modification of the culture of a group or an individual can result from contact with different culture, reading habits, computer skills, and knowledge, retrieval skills, etc. But readers in developing countries are different to those in developed countries, so librarians in developing countries should pay more attention to a library's deposits of printed books and periodicals over a longer period. Libraries in developing countries should also devote their efforts to doing well in all service work as they have done in traditional libraries. When developing digital libraries in the actual conditions of their own country, as well as to meeting the needs of readers with traditional reading habits. In conducting user training, librarians can easily locate those system features that are unfamiliar to users. Librarians are also developing new roles in the digital age as advisors and navigators through a maze of information that is available digitally. A full understanding of human, cultural, and organizational factors will be helpful to a library managers in grasping of the nettle and developing effective, high-quality digital information services. Digital libraries need digital readers to possess adequate skills, knowledge, and experience, and these may be very different from those required of the traditional reading. The pattern of reading as is known from the past may not be the same as reading as it is known today or in the future. Research and reading habits needs to be further updated by including current advancements in ICT, where the technology has enabled reading to be more timely and somewhat nonlinear by using devices such as computers, PDAs, and wireless phones without the presence of any printed documents. Thank you.
Okay. So that was, thank you so much for that. Okay, so we're gonna read our essay too, but it's quite shorter than that, but it's very similar because we have the same opinions mostly. Okay. The impact of internet on the reading community. Over 3 billion people use the internet year-round. These 3 billion have access to almost any sort of information, any sort of format. Whether free or paid for, you can get texts, videos, images, and most things thinkable by the press of a button. So of course, all and any of the world's hobbies have changed and renewed. New hobbies have been created and popularized. Now, according to statistics, 80% of adults worldwide are literate, which means a whole lot of people read daily, weekly, or monthly. And since the late 1940s, when the idea of the very first ebook came around, the discussion of printed books versus electronic ones had up. And that might be known as the very first impact internet has had on reading in general. Nearly 4 billion trees worldwide are cut down each year for paper, which means that being able to even make a dent in that amount will help tens of forests a year. This seems great at first, but then come the loopholes. The very first one being that nowadays, the very much improved technology of the ebook, even after being given a set of copyright laws, piracy and illegally downloading books has become extremely easy, which obviously forces many publishers to decline the offer of selling in ebook format. Then comes dealing with change. Many people of previous generations refuse reading off a machine. According to a recent poll, most people feel less accomplished after finishing an ebook than they do after reading the same text in book format. Most want an actual library, and surprisingly, a lot of people stated their care for the aroma and the smell of the book. But all this being said, we are only talking about a specific audience of actual book readers. Not all who are literal read books. Most people start off their day by unfolding a newspaper or looking through a magazine. Personally, we would like to say that the impact of internet in this case has been even larger than on books. Reading on the internet is often not unlike reading the newspaper. You read a bit of page 1 and then the story leads you to page 6. You come back to the front page and are again redirected elsewhere in the paper. This time, forgetting to come back. It's a game of hopscotch from one story to the next. Across the internet, our reading follows similar trails through hyperlinks, with one foot still in the hopscotch game, the original window of your browser open to pull you back. Admittedly, the internet has the ability to take us along an endless pathway, something a newspaper cannot do. We can read a shocking article in the paper and then move on to the next story in the game of hopscotch. Online, it is easy to prolong the agony or the ecstasy to read the comments, follow the links, Google for more, and eventually start tweeting about the half-read article, causing more and more attention to be given to the uninformative and also almost always incorrect text. By recent calculations, with an increasing amount of time spent on reading online, a screen-based reading behavior is emerging. Skim reading, scanning, and speed reading is evidence, while less time is spent on in-depth reading, leading to less comprehension and content absorption/recall levels. There's a lower attention span on online materials, therefore less concentration. It's worth mentioning that writers and authors, like all occupations, have different lives than 50 years ago. To begin with, they have more opportunities to seize the attention of their specific target audience, and they have easier ways because of online publishing. But they can also be beaten off a bestseller by a 14-year-old fanfiction writer. One of the worst ways to look at it would be to say that the links lead us to unimportant media rather than any sort of reading material. So basically, the internet offers so much that the priority to read an important news article would be set behind many useless 2-minute videos to watch and games to play. All in all, most people prefer watching something or hearing it rather than to read it. The invention of the podcast or audiobooks and so on does not help our case. All in all, we believe that like everything else, the internet's impacts are both positive and negative. And in some ways, the positive are overshadowing the negative, which is good, seeing as there's no way to decrease online reading. To end with a question, we would like to ask, how can we higher the positive impact that internet has on the reading community? Thank you.
How much does a new? Can I ask a few questions? Is that fine?
Yeah, of course.
How much does a newspaper cost in Iran?
Not much.
How much does high-speed internet cost?
Oh, more, way more. If we compare it to a bottle of water, let's say 3 bottles for a newspaper and 10 for high-speed internet for the same amount of time, even more. My friends are just telling me this more expensive. Internet is way more expensive than I just told you.
Wow. So what are like popular magazines in Iran?
Well, we have some public magazines and newspapers that are connected to each other. One of them is called Hamshahri. You probably don't know the names. So yeah, that's a very popular one. A lot of people buy it.
Where do you get your news from?
We have newsstands, but of course, mostly I think families now watch the news or read it online. We have applications and like TV news, which is way popular here.
How are foreign authors viewed?
Excuse me?
How are foreign authors viewed?
In Iran?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you mean like translated?
Like, how are they thought of?
Oh, good, mostly. We have our sides, but mostly good. A lot of the books here are translated, like especially new books or some sort of like stories and things are translated here. So good.
What are the guarantees of freedom of speech?
Oh, I think we need to discuss this. Well, we have freedom of speech, but in laws, you can't offend anyone, a person, you can't offend any sort of religion, any sort of race. So it's freedom of speech, but the unoffensive form of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you don't have any other questions, maybe we could discuss the question that we mentioned. How can we hire the positive impact that internet has on the reading community?
Can you repeat that question?
How can we hire the positive impact the internet has on the reading community? Because as we said, and you said it too, reading on the internet is very much scanning and skimming and taking a glance at it, and it's not, it doesn't have very much depth. And that's important because one of the very bases of a good society is reading and is literature. So how can we take people back to deep reading and by using the internet?
I'd say while using the internet, we can bring people into reading because technology has affected reading in 5 major ways that are positive. And that'd be like there's a whole new language being created from technology where we use new terms that we refer to and add into our conversations every single day that come from the internet. Now, also, we could also say that the research is performed mostly online. Most people tend to rely on the online sources in order to get their research quicker and also get a more in-depth because I mean times have changed. There are updates, and maybe with a book it might not be us updated. But if we go online and we research, it's updated, and we're still doing the reading. It's just a different media where to get it from. Also, if we consider the fact that times have changed, a lot of classrooms are getting rid of their boards, and the internet has opened. They have opened new ways for the students to learn and participate in the classroom. And absolutely a huge positive impact, considering the fact that sometimes kids in the classroom might get distracted or not pay attention. And with the internet involved, kids tend to pay more attention and stay focused in class.
Yeah, that's really true. One of the problems that we face is that, you know, you mentioned researching, and we do a lot of that, especially in our school. But one of the problems that we face a lot is that internet is not as improved in the Farsi, our language, in the Persian language, as it is in English. So that's one of the issues we have. We have to do, if we want our research to be correct, we have to do a lot of our research in English and then translate it, which isn't easy.
I understand.
That's one of the problems that we have.
Yeah, well,
Also, other issues that we have a lot here, we have like a lot of our research, daily research, not very deep in the research, is from Wikipedia or websites like that.
I mean,
Of course, there's issues that come with incorrect information all the time. People are reminding us about the incorrect information online and how everyone can add on to it, which is just means that the resource is not reliable and things like that. So that's an issue too.
so how do you basically like how would I say rate the truthfulness of the information that you're receiving?
Well, I guess that we have some certain sites that are kind of like Wikipedia, but not everyone can add on to them, and they're more reliable. But we do most of our research off books, or if we can find some sort of reliable source of a university or something, or we ask a lot of.
Like, what are some websites in the Farsi that you use as like in specific to do your research?
Websites that we use for Farsi research?
No, yeah, like what websites do you use in specific other than?
Oh, well, we have, I think it's called Noormag. It's a website that contains literally all of the magazines printed in Iran. And then you just have to pay a very small subscription to it, and then you can use them online. You don't have to buy them, because like I don't want to buy every single magazine, but I need it every now and then, and things like that. And of course, all of the things that are connected to schools and universities are reliable.
Right.
Like our very own school, we have something called, our school is called Kherad, and we have a wiki Kherad, which we add on to ourselves, and the teachers make sure to check them and make sure that they're reliable for other students to use.
Well, I think that the great thing about
Is,
did you ask anything?
No.
Oh.
no, we didn't ask me.
Also, another great impact made by technology is that now kids have the ability to work with interactive textbooks, making it easier because sometimes when there's like an actual textbook, it might be hard because sometimes accidents happen and the textbook can rip. And with interactive textbooks, it's online, so there's not a high chance of an accident happening. You have to work with that without any worries. And another impact done by would be that it's instant. You can just type something into the search engine, and in a matter of seconds, you'll get the answer you need. While research is instantly provided to us, instead of sitting through heavy books for hours, I mean, you can just get it right in a few seconds, like I just said. And here's a challenge. Can you listen to this whole speech without getting distracted? Can you resist the urge to skim each paragraph online for the gist of it, and instead read each sentence carefully, reflecting on its meaning, even thinking about how it might apply to your life? Now, times have changed, and I personally, I tend to feel that I can't concentrate as much when I'm reading on an actual book than if I'm looking at a screen. After a few pages, I'll start to get tired and distracted and I'll want to move. Now, you may argue that maybe online I would read in the F-shaped format, which is you read the beginning, through the middle, and move down to the end. And I mean, it's a good argument, but the problem there would be that you're not getting as in depth as you might want. Why? Because you might miss a detail here or there because you're not reading the full article, and instead you're just skimming through it. So that's one of the internet.
I think not only the reading behavior has changed, the writing behavior has also changed. When I write now, I keep repeating something over and over because in my head I'm thinking that person is probably just scanning it, so I really want them to see that word. You know, I don't say it once again anymore. I think one of us also read that when you're reading from a screen, you slow down to 25%, so you're slower.
True.
I mean, it doesn't make sense because if you were to be slower, then you would have been reading like more deep. And when we're reading, apparently it's not deep at all. We're just scanning through it. And why are we slower?
Yeah. Also, I mean, texting has changed. Has it changed?
Has texting changed Farsi at all? Texting's changed English a great deal here. They write almost in text language.
Yes.
Yeah, text language Farsi.
Yes, texting has changed a lot. When texting informally, we've literally created a new language that is completely wrong. We have our own alphabet that I don't know if you know or not. It's a lot similar to Arabic alphabet, And because the keyboards are usually in English alphabet, like the alphabet is in English, we've started to write what we're saying, what we're pronouncing in English, that's chaotic. And we're doing this on a daily basis. We're speaking to each other like this, and that's crazy. That's like...
There was a study by Stephen Beekers in which it was an essay that was called "How the Owl Has Flown," printed in the anthology Making Sense, recently addressed to the internet's potential impact on our intellectual effort, and would likely be worried for the fate of student scholarship in the age of online reading. Now, Burkett echoes that Carr's observations about reading behavior and then reflects more physical, and believing that reading online leads not only to a lack of depth to what there is to read, but a lack of depth that we cultivate as human beings, saying that, we've completely lost how the ability to go into depth because we are so, we've changed so much in our reading behavior that we just skim through everything and just forget about actually reading.
You can even make a case that goes into our politics too, is that people are more used to 30-second sound bites here than listening to read a whole detailed, we're in the midst of a presidential election, and there are people that put out detailed 10, 20, 30-page reports, but all they want to see is a paragraph or a catchphrase instead of that. So it's perfectly acceptable. We have one candidate that's running for political office that wants to give everybody free college education. He doesn't really explain how they get it, but he is going to try to get, and then all young people are all excited without realizing that free college education may cost them a whole lot for the rest of their life.
Yeah, exactly.
I also think it's interesting the kind of depth reading that a sequence of printed pages promotes is valuable, not just for knowledge we acquire, but from the author's words, but for the gamed online. Now, given the sheer amount of content and the skimming type reading style that we often employ when reading, it resonates with the reader as much as the content we read in actual books, magazines, and newspapers, and can set those off. Around how many books do you read throughout your school?
I don't know. How many books do you read?
Like 5 maybe?
Throughout the whole school year?
Wow.
9.
But it depends on what you count as a book. I mean, we have a lot of books written by normal people like us, like students, and we read them daily.
Oh yeah, like those
Wattpads or fan fictions. That literary points, maybe 9 literally classical books throughout the whole year.
And what type of books are they? Are they usually for one class, or are they?
Oh, you mean for our classes, like our actual textbooks?
No,
like
novels
just any,
or
in general. What do you read?
Okay, so this is kind of hard to explain. I don't know if this is the same there. Here in our literature classes, we have this sort of like a textbook, and it contains famous authors and poets, and it's apart from each of them. So basically, we know them. For example, if you read a poem, I can probably tell you who's the poet.
Yeah.
But we don't actually read the thing. Especially Persian literature is kind of difficult to understand, and it takes a lot of comprehension, the really deep kind of literature. So yeah, it takes a lot of energy to read any of those.
Who's your favorite author?
That's hard.
Hers is Hafez or Ferdowsi. Hers is also Ferdowsi. They're authors as well. Maybe they count. I don't know what mine is.
Yeah. That's really hard.
Does ancient Farsi different than modern Farsi?
Yes.
Yes.
It's understandable, but with the presence of a teacher. Yeah, different words, different grammar.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to ask this question, but do you read Shakespeare at all?
Yes. Yes. Kind of like what Shakespeare is to you, Ferdowsi and Hafiz is to us. But we have English classes here too. So when we study English literature, we of course read Shakespeare.
Do you do anything out of just weird words to you?
I think it's funny to say this, but for me, ancient Persian that comes in poems by Hafiz or Ferdowsi are actually weirder than hard words in Shakespeare. Because when I'm encountering a hard word, I just think to myself, well, that's English. I probably just don't know the word, so I learn the meaning. But when it's Persian, I'm like, this is my mother language. I should be understanding it. Why am I not? So actually, Shakespearean words aren't that difficult to communicate with. You just Google it and you find it's just like a regular word that I don't understand.
Okay. In Farsi language, where does the break between modern Farsi and ancient Farsi? What year period are you talking about?
A long time. نه دیگه ببین فارسی قدیمی برای حافظ و اینا میشه چقدر پیش؟ خب چه چند قرن پیش؟ Around 400, 300 years ago.
Oh, okay. That's pretty.
But like even actually because of the whole history complication, for us reading a novel that's been written 100 years ago is kind of difficult too, but definitely not as difficult as Ferdowsi or Hafiz.
So if you're going to read something from like Cyrus the Great's era, or something from like way ancient Persia, that would be
kind of. Actually, I don't know exactly how to explain this, but we've had many different ancient Persians, and the one that you're referring to is actually a lot before what we're referring to. So we couldn't even read the alphabet of Cyrus the Great. So the whole thing, we can't even read from it. Like it's another language that we don't know. Some historians know them, but not us. The one that we're referring to is written in the same alphabet as what we speak to now, and it's called Pahlavi.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's fascinating. So most all if you're going to read something about Cyrus, or you're going to read something about something before 758 AD or something like that, you'd have to read a translation, a modern translation of whatever they were reading it, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't know if you've ever looked at the laws that Cyrus gave. If you look at it, it's written in a very it's kind of like lines against each other. That's the old language. We can't read from that. Not very many people can. It's like cracking a code. I don't think it's not a live language anymore. But what we have now is more like Arabic. It has curves in it.
Yeah, that's why I said around. So when Farsi became under an Arabic type of rule, then that's when you end up adopting some of their ways when it comes to language, correct?
ما به عرب زبان فارسی دادیم. خب بعد این خطش چی؟ Okay. So basically, what you're referring to, when the Arabs came, we kind of started translating their language. Actually, we have to learn Arabic here, so we know a lot of facts about it. And one of them is that the very first grammar book, the very first Arab grammar book, was written by a Persian, because we wanted to translate it, and they had no rules, and we couldn't translate it. So we decided to start writing an Arabic language and then start writing a Persian language so we could translate from the Arabic to the Persian. Oh. So yeah, they're quite similar. And since we have to take their lessons, we kind of understand what they're saying, but definitely not as easy as places in Pakistan or Tajikistan where they speak the exact same language as us in different accents.
Oh, wow. So how many different places in the world would speak something similar to Farsi?
A lot.
A lot, actually.
Like
1, 2, 3, 4.
Afghanistan, Pakistan,
Five.
Uzbekistan. Okay, so 5 countries.
Oh, wow. That's fine.
But a lot of regions speak Persian. A lot of regions in specific cities have a lot of Persian travelers, like China. So they have started to understand our language and they can speak it nearly fluently.
Now, your keyboards are in the English language for your computers, or is it?
They have these little stickers on them. We can't show it to you, but they have these little stickers. So we have our own alphabet next to them.
Oh.
Yeah, right to left language.
Now, is Farsi right to left or left to right?
Right to left. And our numbers are left to right.
Oh, wow. So that would be kind of confusing to read if you have to read in English and then read in Farsi, then correct?
Well, actually, it's not that confusing for us because all of us, we've been learning English since we were kids and we understood the difference. But whenever we're trying to explain it to someone, a foreigner who has never heard of right to left languages, that's really difficult to try and tell them how we put the numbers in and things like that. But for us, it's not that unusual.
Yeah. But you guys speak English so well. I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
When did you start learning English? When did you first
Excuse me?
When did you first start?
Last week.
Kindergarten, when we were 3 years old.
Oh,
3, 4.
That's earlier than me. Really, I started in 3rd grade.
Yeah, see, these girls, they will speak Spanish at the house. So,
she can speak Spanish.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias.
¿Cuándo aprendiste a hablar español?
Can you repeat that, please?
When did you first start taking Spanish?
Answer in Spanish.
4 años.
4 años?
Más. Yo puedo hablar un poco, pero no es profesional. You're laughing.
Suena muy bien, suena excelente español. Muy bien.
Your voice keeps cutting off. That's why she can't hear you and answer you.
Hablas español muy bien. Excelente.
Gracias.
I understood that. She said that you speak Spanish very well. You said thank you.
Ask them to continue.
No.
Can you teach us some Farsi if it's okay?
Sure. What do you want to say?
He's good looking.
Hi.
I want to know how to say, how are you?
Chetori.
Chetori.
Chetori. Yeah, Chetori.
Chetori. I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, I will remember that.
How do you say good morning?
How do you say good morning?
Sob bekhair.
Can you repeat that?
You got
Sob bekhair.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sob is morning and bekhair is good. So good morning.
What else? What else would you like to say?
How do you say hi? Like, how do you say hello? Like, is there? I know that in French there's many ways to say hello. So, how would you say hello?
How would you?
It's like salam.
Salam.
Salam, yeah. And it's the same in Arabic too, but we have a very Persian word for it called bedrud or durud, but we don't use it.
No.
I thought salam meant peace. I thought salam meant peace.
No, that's sulh.
Okay.
I dare you to ask.
How do you How do you say he is good looking?
You can do that. She is good looking. بگین دیگه بچه خوشگله
خوش
نه حالا بچه خوشگله
together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All day.
Thank you. I don't know what else. Do you know what else?
What?
Oh, when like do you like to read like on Wattpad? Like, do you change the settings so that it's on your language or?
No,
Actually, we
English.
read English.
She reads.
Do you find that reading English books help you, or as far as reading online, or is it be better to read a book in English, a regular book, printed book?
I honestly think it's easier to read English books.
The thing about English books that we can't find the original version, the paperback version, most of the time. Like, for example, a new book comes out this month, and we do not have access to the paperback version until like 2 months or so.
Until actually
A year or
we don't even have our bookstores here are purely Persian, except for very small shelves of English books or English teaching books.
Yeah.
Except for famous novels and stuff. So if you're trying to read something that's just in, you have to download the ebook, which is why a lot of people here have Kindles, or you can just have the app if that's easier for you.
What is your have you read any of the recent books? Like, which one's your favorite?
Oh, God.
Recent favorite. Amy Snow.
I haven't heard of it.
The book Amy Snow, or what's my recent favorite book?
I don't know.
And the Legend of the Seven Sisters, which got actually a prize, I guess.
30 Reasons Why. She likes 30 Reasons Why. She likes Paper Towns.
Oh, by John Green?
Yeah. I personally like looking for Eskimo.
I don't like any of his books. I don't like any of his books. Let that be stated.
I really like his Crash Courses. He has Crash Courses that I really love to watch. So
you don't like John Green?
I don't, but they do.
I like him.
Do you like anime?
Excuse me?
Do you watch anime? There's a lot of people here that watch anime.
Or read
anime.
Graphic novels?
I personally don't, but...
No,
our friends do.
Yeah.
But they're not right now. If they were, they would be really excited because they like it a lot.
Love it a lot.
Do you like the Harry Potter series?
Yeah.
Yes. She is in love with those books.
Oh, wait. Which book is your favorite one?
What's your favorite? My favorite is the one with the snake. What's the name of that one?
Slytherin.
Second.
No, Half-Bloods.
The book. Mine is
The Half-Blood Prince.
What?
Chamber of Secrets or whatever.
Chamber of Secrets.
What kind of job are you guys aspiring to do when you grow up?
So here in Iran, our educational system is like in high school, you have to choose the thing you want to major in. Not very detailed, but you have to pick from like 6 groups, like arts or sciences or things like that. So we all study different things right now, and we all want different jobs. So
Yeah.
So what's your goal?
Well, I study math. She's studying math too, and her.
Yeah.
And her.
Okay, so apparently they all study math
Except her.
I study art.
Oh, I see. Oh, what do you what's your art? Do you?
Well, I go to fine arts high school, but I want to study performance arts at some point.
Do you play an instrument? Or
Yeah, piano and also vocals.
cool.
Mhm.
Well, here we have kind of like the same. They're called endorsements, and yeah, we basically have like the arts, the there's the
It's
government,
basically
yeah.
something very general that when
Yeah.
you look into it, it will specify on what you can choose on.
Yeah, like there's like different.
So yeah.
No,
It's- Well, we when we're older, we would both like to get into law, which is basically being a lawyer, and
she might want to get into law.
I'm studying mathematics. I'm not sure what my job will be in future, but I'm also interested in law and also in Persian literature, all of this. So I have a argument with myself about it.
do y'all have like any programs that help you, like such as for like law or something?
Well, we have this thing here called club. In our school, we have a club thing where you get to pick a club and everyone has to do it. And we get together once a week. And so you could choose some sort of law there and stuff. We're in different
And then
things.
we do a project, and then we have to present it. So we also learn a few things.
So like what type of activities do the like clubs involve you to do? Like
Is there any
school?
limitations for it?
What do you mean by limitations?
Like do you have to choose only like one class, or like can you like?
Oh.
See, there's like the subjects that we get to choose between the subjects, and whichever subject we choose, for example, math or science, physics, biology, law and stuff, then we get to we actually get projects, and then we have to work on our project throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, which is actually nearby, our year, new year, we get to present them, and then we get rated, and that's how we actually find out if we are interested in that subject we've chosen or not, and if we are, we can continue it the next year.
Do you guys have your projects? Like I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing as your projects?
Me, I don't know. So I'm in a music writing class, composition class. So my project will be to compose a musical piece, which I'm doing right now, and I have to give it in 2 weeks. It's due in 2 weeks. We too do. We are having a project together, which is we
Measure
the
emotional reactions
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they think.
Boys and girls, the age of 15 to 18, which is actually sort of high school, to international political news, which is based on politics and
Breaking news.
that you hear around 48 hours.
Would you be able to present it for us? Like your project? Not right now, but like
Send it to you. Yeah, sure, definitely.
Sure.
Yeah, that really sounds fascinating.
Like for school, so like for school, what type of courses do you take?
Pardon me?
Can you repeat that again? The voice was.
Sorry, like for the school year, what type of courses do you choose, or do you have to take?
We don't choose. We
choose
choose
it.
at the beginning.
Major.
Our second year of high school. Well, she told you that she chose arts. We chose mathematics. When we're in mathematics, we have a set of classes that we all go to. Like, for example, we don't study biology anymore. But we have students that study biology. We have students that study arts, like her. And our syllabuses are a little bit different, but we study the main subjects. All of us do that.
Yeah, so basically we have a set of main subjects that everyone has to study, and then based on what you choose as your major, which I choose art. Well, basically I have sketch classes, and she has math classes.
Statistics,
Interesting
or geometry, which we would study more, and like harder questions, which like the students which pick up biology wouldn't study statistics this year. They would study statistics the next year. That's the differences, and then we get to study harder mathematics, which is not only A-level mathematics. We get deeper in that.
So basically it's like a package deal. You don't get to choose every single class. You pick a package of courses.
Yeah, so it's kind of like here. How do you enroll to like college? Yeah.
Well, it's different here.
If we decide to enroll in Iran, which we mostly do, we have this exam. It's kind of like the SATs, but you get ranks. I understand that in the SATs you don't get ranked; you just get a grade. So here it's called contour. It's an English word. No, it's an English word, contour. And you get it kind of combines all of our subjects. And it's a very difficult exam, and you get ranked. So based on what you get ranked, you get into the college you want, or you.
Yeah, I see. That's so cool, actually.
Yeah. So it's not like a resume thing you do, or like we don't introduce ourselves or anything.
Hey guys, dude. Never mind, that's weird. Yeah, I'm okay. Never mind. What that is.
So like, tell me more about like yourselves, or like just personal things you like. What are things you like?
So good. Tell them about yourself.
She's an amazing hockey player.
Oh.
She would never talk about herself, but she's an amazing hockey player. She's so talented at it.
Well, I play hockey, as she said, and what else? I love listening to music and reading books.
Oh, what kind of music do you guys listen to?
Oh, and I studied German, and
yeah, so she knows German, and she also knows German, and she knows Spanish, and she knows French. Oh yeah, and also French. She knows French too.
Oh, French too.
Okay, so she's very excelled in English.
Oh, I see. So you guys have other languages to take, right? Like you.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, not all of them are inside of our school. Like I take English in school, and I take French outside, and
so
stuff like that. So you don't.
I take French. That's fine. I take French. So.
So like, what languages does your school provide for you, like so you can learn?
English, and then we have to finish. We have to be at a certain level of English. We have to have an understanding of the language, and then after that, we have the option to choose French when we're in middle school. When we're in high school, we have the option to also choose German if we want to. So we provide English, French, and German in school. And Arabic, well, of course, yes. Arabic, that's the main subject.
So how do you deal with like how many classes a day do you have?
Four.
Four classes.
So you do like rotations, like A day and B day?
Like you have four.
What?
No,
see, no, our system is different here. Each day of the week we have a schedule, so it's not like the same thing every day. It's like a schedule each day is completely different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each week is the same, but each day is different. And we go to school at 7. We start school at 7 and finish at 3.
Oh, I see. That's very good. Yeah, that's early, you guys. So you guys wake up.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Earl, what time do you wake up at?
So what time does your school start?
Our school starts at 8:30, which is probably
That's like 1 hour.
Exactly.
it's about an hour, and yeah. What else would you like to know about how it is for us?
About their educational system.
Yeah, like what are your majors and what are your majors and what are you planning to study in the future?
So my major is I want to be a lawyer, so this is why I'm taking this class. I really like this class to get involved. Yesterday we did a moot court with South Australia. Montreal, correction. It was a great experience for a first time. I think we did pretty good. And she was my partner. I really like her to have as my partner. She's really awesome.
The judge was in Australia.
Yeah, the judge in Australia, the court in Australia, and we went against some students from another school.
Yes.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have about 3,400 students in our school. How big is Kherad?
1,000 people?
Because we provide elementary school, preschool, middle school, and high school. So
بازم اومدم بیشتره. اون
We have
3,500 ما 1000.
Wait, they provide all of those?
Yeah.
No.
How big are your classes?
So, like, how big are your classes?
Well, it depends on your major, but right now in high school, your classes are like 30 people. My class is 15 people though.
Oh, I see.
Wow. That's pretty good. I wonder how you could get all that good presentation and all the other skills if you had that amount of people. So I can see now how it works.
So there's like no limit to each class?
Well, actually, we get to choose, and based on the people who choose that major, they will provide classes for us. If needed, they would put extra. But usually, it's the way that like around 60 students choose mathematics, 50 choose biology, and 20 choose
art. 20 talented people choose art.
Wow, yeah.
Our school is really big. Hallways are also very full to get to our next class. I mean, I think it's fair time. However, there is times where people can walk really slow, and
Yes.
I'm trying to get to class, and my class can be far. And so, I mean, I basically have to walk fast or go.
Well, we don't have the same problem in corridors here, but we do have the stairs. Like to get to art school, I have to go up 7 flights of stairs every morning. So that's kind of crazy to go up 7 flights at 7 a.m. It's kind of
That's a lot.
That's a good exercise.
What time do you start?
daily exercise within our stairs.
3.
Wow.
Well, our school have 3 buildings and like 4 actually. One for elementary, one preschool, and one for high school, and middle school, and one for sort of kindergarten.
Your school a private school or?
private school.
How much does it cost for tuition?
That's a hard question.
That's
We
hard
don't know.
to calculate in dollars. Wait, let us ask. بالدولار 9 مليون چقدر میشه خانم محسنی؟ بالدولار it's around $3,500.
For a whole year?
Yeah, for all year 3,000, around something like that.
So, are there schools that are more expensive?
No.
Are private schools more expensive?
Are there other private schools that are around that are any more expensive, or is that about average what the cost would be?
We have international schools. They're for the embassy of, for example, Germany, and they provide an international school. They cost a lot more than the average amount of tuition that you pay yearly. But most of the other private schools, I think, are about the same price,
Or a little less.
or maybe a little less, actually.
And how would you compare it with education you're getting to education you would get just at a regular public school?
Well, here is kind of the opposite than there. Private schools are, I don't know how to explain it, but the education level is much higher than public schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to kids here, but yeah, private schools here can be a lot more rigorous. And so a typical person, if they stayed in Iran, where would you go to college at? And then if you went international, where would you go?
I don't know about typical people, but we have answers.
Well, depending on the major we study, there are rankings for the college and universities we want to enter. For example, I don't know, in America, if Stanford is the best business school university, well, we have sort of the same ranking over here, which as much the higher rank we get in our concours, we get to go to the better universities and college. So it's actually based on the ranking of our concours.
And international.
And if we were to choose a college there,
We have the ability, actually. Yeah.
Stanford?
Harvard. I really like Harvard. I like Cambridge, personally.
Yeah.
I really like Harvard.
Okay. Yeah, you know, at one time, a lot of Iranian students would come to the States to go to college. I don't know if that's the same anymore, but, you know.
oh yeah, the law.
Yeah. And no telling, it may be more in the future, too, the way things are going. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have a lot better schools there anyway.
Can you repeat your question? Sorry, there's a lot of noise here.
I'm sorry, I said sounds like many of your universities are much better than some of the colleges that we have here anyway.
Well, here one of the education system, one of the things it provides is more information. Maybe I'm not sure. I've never been educated anywhere else, but I understand that it's not as deep, but it's a lot of information.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like we heard that we get just in high school is some of it you get in college, but obviously it's not as deep. Like how can you have it? You could probably have a deeper learning of something if you take more time to learn it.
And what grade are you in now?
10th.
Wow. I would have thought you were a lot older. It really sounds like that your teachers do a very good job at your school. They should.
Yeah, they are. Thank you.
What grades are you in?
We're freshmen, so
Yeah,
it's our first year in high school.
Oh, so 9th grade.
Yes.
Yeah, see, a lot of times when they say freshman, I forgot to tell them that they don't. That freshman doesn't translate, you know, 9th grade or 10th grade or like that. And now you graduate in the 12th grade there. It's not like Rush where you graduate in 11th grade, correct?
It's funny because we were trying to translate it to you. We don't actually say 10th grade. We say the second year of high school. So we were trying to translate it for you.
Yeah, that's kind of. You have 3 or 4 years in high school.
4.
Yeah, because like the typical Russian systems and the things we're under, you know, the stands we're under Russia, they're still into that 11th grade and they're out. So you know that's kind of strange. But we would like to do this again so that we are able to do it, and we surely.
Fourth is our pre-college.
And you said your colleges were free?
Not all of them. It depends again on the college you enter.
If you don't get into the best colleges, you have to pay to get into not as good colleges. But the really good, it's exactly the opposite with what we just explained about our school. We said that public schools aren't as good as private schools, where private colleges are not as good as public colleges. So yeah.
Wow. But you have to pay for less.
So this is going to be a cool cultural exchange.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, how do you say thank you? Farsi.
Thank you would be mamnoon.
Or you can say the French version merci. We also say merci.
And I would be Khudafez.
So our international department head, Ms. Mohseni, which you've been in touch with, she thinks that we should have another video conference in April, if that's okay with you, because these are really good for us. Maybe that one could be a bigger debate, because we like arguing and debating. So maybe the one in April could be a debate, if that's good for you.
If you just tell us a topic, we'll be glad to argue. We didn't really want to argue today because it's been a while.
Yeah, we hadn't even set a pro-con thing, so yeah.
Sounds
But think about the topic for the April or whatever video conference, the next video conference, and yeah.
okay. We'll talk to you later then. Thank you.
Thank you.